Good morning. I'm happy to say that today is Friday. Isn't that wonderful? Right now, let me double check myself. The last check about 30 minutes ago, we were still checking in at 39. I want to make sure I'm right on this before I 100% say 40. Oh, we've dropped a couple degrees. It is now 38 degrees. I'm telling you, as I walked to work this morning, it was rough out there. You know that big hill I got to climb?
Yeah.
That goes up?
Tough.
It was tough. It was uphill and cold. And then I didn't bring a flashlight, and I couldn't see the thingamajigger where you punch in your code to get into where you need to go.
It's bad you got to walk to work. You got the Scotty Ray Report.
I know. I had to walk to work. My wife ain't helping me. She could get up and drive me over, couldn't she? I don't think that's going to work out too well for me. She even was trying to make it better for me because I never carried keys, to where she went and bought a fingerprint thing to where I could get in the house because I never have it. Apparently, I don't have fingerprints anymore. No, I'm serious. It wouldn't work. We tried and tried. Everybody else in the house can do it but me. I don't know what I've done in life. Has to be hard work, but I couldn't use it. That's just bad. Thumbprint gone. Have mercy. That is neat, though. It's quick if you've got the fingerprint thing to get in your home. Just didn't work out for me. Maybe it will for you. There's a neat concept there. Good morning. How are you doing? So glad you're feeling good. Again, 38 is where we wait for a high of only 72. This is some nice fall-like weather as we get ready for football. Homecoming tonight. Meridian High School will tell you more about that. Joe Gully says 32 in Kemper County. Ruth showing 37 on hers. So just how cold is it? Let us know where you are and what your temperature is reading. Conahatta, Mark says 37 there. Chris is showing some 40-degree weather there. Temperatures from all over. Good morning, Steve. Good to see you as well. Miss Joyce joining us as we begin this day. Greg and that girl preparing to make their way into the studios today. Can't wait for that. Sandra, good morning. Good to see you as well. Bob is here. Oh, Bob's got to be that one. It's 70 where he is inside.
Yeah.
Nice and warm. We'll be right back as we get our day underway to go over some headlines. What's happening in America that you need to know about this morning? Plus, we'll check all your locals beginning at 7 o'clock. Got all that up and coming as we begin this day. We'll do that right after we get a good word. Let's go to Collinsville.
If you're anything like me, I can tend to shun away help, try to take things on by myself. Now, that certainly is not a trait to brag about. It has got me in trouble more times than I can count. And look, I'm thankful to the Lord that He's working on me in this area. Sometimes I wonder, we can kind of be this way with the Lord though, right? Like, we think that we're ultimately in control and we can take on the waves and the storms of life, and God can just kind of help us out where we need Him. Unfortunately, it's an extremely misguided notion. This is what Proverbs 21:31 says. A horse is prepared for the day of battle, but the victory comes from the Lord. Ultimately, the victory belongs and comes from God. This is true in our salvation, certainly. God is the one who saves us, as we could never earn that for ourselves. It is also true, though, in our day-to-day. I wonder if you have a burden that's weighing on you right now. Do you trust the Lord with it? Have you given it to the Lord? Sometimes we want to ask God why He hadn't changed our situation, but we're still holding on to it. Perhaps we're concerned about how God will solve it, or if He'll go about it the way we want it to. Because God certainly doesn't operate how we envision it sometimes. But He is the only one who has the victory. I think about Hezekiah's words when they were going to battle the Assyrians. This is what he said: "Be strong and courageous. Don't be afraid or discouraged before the king of Assyria or before the large army that is with him. For there are more with us than with him. He has only human strength, but we have the Lord our God to help us and to fight our battles." So the people relied on the words of Hezekiah of Judah. I pray that we would rely on these words as well, right? Like, if we have the Lord, we have all we need. We wouldn't rely on our self-sufficiency. We wouldn't rely on what we can do, but that we would rely on what God can do and how great He is. He will fight your battles. Change begins in you.
The Change Begins in You is brought to you in part by Piggly Wiggly of Collinsville, Patrick Allen Companies, Mitchell Tire and Wrecker in Collinsville, and Mowdy Cab. Whoop, I am back, I promise you. We're getting 35 degrees mentioned in places. Beth, how in the world are you? Charlotte's there. Collinsville, LaWanda says it's 39 this morning as well. Be careful where you go. We had a little small accident last night. I-20 coming into Meridian around mile marker 145, 146. Right before you get to Dead Man's Curve there, we had somebody run off the edge of the road there. We'll tell you more about that up and coming. No serious injuries, thank heavens. It's one of those things you have to be careful, careful, careful. Maybe one of those situations where I fell asleep. Kind of leaning toward that as we begin it. Let's see what's happening today as we begin this. Anybody remember Birmingham, Alabama, that Saturday morning not long ago that we woke up and discovered that 21 people had been shot? 4 were dead. Do y'all remember that? Well, they've caught the person. He's in custody, the suspect in that shooting. Y'all aren't going to believe this. I'm going to shock you. He was already wanted for 2 other shootings. Anyone shocked? 22 years old is how old he was. Now, how do you become that at the age of 22? Birmingham, Alabama. Again, 4 people were killed. There was a total of 21 people that were shot that morning. And again, connected to 2 other shootings at a young age. Behind bars, we'll see where this goes in Birmingham, Alabama. Things like this have got to change. No one believes anything. It's push, push, push. It's not your fault. It's time America stands up again. As we look at this, I'm not going to shock anybody on this. I don't think an independent panel issues their scathing report on the Secret Service and recommends leadership overhaul after the Trump shooting. I'm not shocked a bit. If you read all that, if you watched any of that before where they faced the committees and their answers, it was bad. And this is happening in not only that department. You think of the Secret Service. You think of the departments that don't get looked at every day of what they're really doing.
DEI.
This is one of those things to where their job, if they make a mistake, it shows it. But there's so many other forms of the government to where the average person would never know they're not handling things the way they should. It's that way all over. No one takes responsibility for what they do or care about what they do anymore. We've got to change the bar in America. Something's got to happen. If you don't, it'll be just as though it were Rome. We all know that. We know how another book tells us it will end one day. I remember reading this. I think we talked about it a few months back of somebody that was attacked by a bear in a tent. After the investigation, there was no bear. They were murdered. A friend found them. They have no idea how it happened. Dustin, it was last weekend, as a matter of fact, of this. I know we talked about this for a moment there. Gallatin County is where all this happened. Man alive. Montana is where all that went on. They were camping, found in a tent, and it did look as though something had went inside and attacked, but it was not. It was human as they try to put the pieces together. We'll wait and see what becomes of it. You know, Terry makes a very good point there. Dan Bonagino should run the Secret Service. He'd make a good one. He knows exactly what he's doing. He talks with so much sense. While they were not practicing what they should have done there, they've arrested another person. January 6th, they're going to be sentenced to 17 months behind bars. Do y'all remember, and I absolutely loved watching the show, Walter White, Breaking Bad. Do y'all remember watching that? Where he was the science teacher who had nothing, finds out he has cancer and he's going to pass away. And in order to make sure that his wife would have money for their children, starts, developing a not-so-legal substance and becomes like the greatest thing they've ever seen. He is restarting the character as a campaign ad against littering in New Mexico. He's going to be doing ads as Walter White, urging people not to litter. He is way left, but let me tell you, he did play that part very well. We can never criticize anybody when they do something great. He's good at that. We've talked about this several times about how to watch when you open your door to make sure that the person on the other side is really who you think they are. If you didn't order the telephone repairman to come to your home, don't open the door. If you didn't tell the gas man to come to your house, make sure, never hurts to call the police and say, there's somebody here, can you come check them out? This guy, the second suspect in that Michigan home invasion that pretended to be utility men, is being charged with murder. Again, they knocked on the front door, acted like they were there to work on something, and robbed and killed somebody. Second person has been caught, and the only reason they're caught would be video footage of knowing who they were. Be careful. We live in a different age now. This is kind of spooky. I know Greg's wife and Barry and a whole bunch of other people do kayaking. It is not for me. That little boat, if you were to do wrong, will go floop. You ever seen that? I think Magnum P.I. used to do it, didn't he? Didn't he kayak, or was that?
He did too. Yeah.
Maybe it was a canoe, but it seemed like he did that. 17-year-old in Hawaii flipped over, got separated from everybody they were with, held on to the kayak for 12 hours before being rescued. Can you imagine hanging on that long? I'm sure that there's others that have stayed longer. I know there are a lot of you thinking that, but that's impressive, and we're glad they were saved. 17-year-old, 12 hours in that. You had plenty of time to think of everything. And I'm with you, Luana. I can't swim either. That is not my thing. I can't do it. Now, I was probably like most of Americans, and it's not my video, so I'm not going to show it. But have you seen the hang glider that goes over the pyramid? And as he's going, he looks down. There's a dog on top of the pyramid. It was 400 feet high. The dog's on top. So he goes back in a couple of days, and it turns out the dog has made its way down. Have y'all seen that? The dog climbed all the way to the top by itself. Came back down. It took him 2 days to come down.
He was hungry.
Yeah, that's about what happened. But the most interesting thing that I've seen all week, if you get a chance, I think CNN, ABC has it. All of the major networks will have that. Pretty accessible on Facebook there. Well, we say that a boy as we look at Seattle police, Washington as we look there. Police officer risked his own life to save somebody that was not in such a great mental state of mind, that was laying on some train tracks. He jumped in at the last second and saved him. It's good that we have others that care about others, isn't it? Just so that you know, I thought I would bring this up. Biden, as we've looked at all of this, who has been forgiving people's debt for college. Those of you who couldn't afford to go to college are now paying for those who did. Well, I'm not making it up. It happened. Take a deep breath. Let me tell you how much money all of them together, what he's done so far. Wipe the debt free. $175 billion. $175 billion. Now, it's 4.8 million people that they forgave. Now, let me shock you on this figure. Up until now, before Biden done this, that agency has been there for ever and a day. Do you know how many people up until now that they had helped and done anything with that with? Hold your breath. 7,000 people. Now we're at 4.8 million. Just really proves that you don't have to be responsible for what you do. Spend recklessly. Someone else will take care of it, doesn't it? You're responsible for your own actions. It is not the government's responsibility to bail you out. If you make a mistake, it's yours. Y'all know that as well as I do. And you, the taxpayer who didn't go to college, I've said that several times. Some of you did go to college, paid for it yourself. You are also having to pay for those people that didn't. McConnell, I think of him as a John McCain. He stands there, he says, I'm a Republican. In heart, I'm not so sure that he is. I'm not so sure that I believe much of anything. He is going to endorse Trump this time, but in a tell-all book, they've said that he said some very, and I won't go into the way he worded it, but he said some very nasty things at the last election about him. Very ugly. Again, that's one of those things I don't trust. Have you seen, as we near this presidential election, what are we, 3 weeks away? Is that what it is, Odie? How long have we got? Is it less?
Days.
19 days now? We've seen Elon Musk out campaigning for Trump. Now, as we'll see on the other side, there's been a lot of stars do it, but when you get into the ultra rich, Mark Cuban has been out campaigning for Kamala Harris. Interesting. New Mexico governor, this is almost a win there, is not going to renew the ban on carrying a firearm in public. Apparently that had happened in New Mexico where you couldn't do that. She's getting rid of that. One for the team there. They're saying that the north is going to see a little bit more rain this winter. Our area, kind of dry. Ooh, we're off to a good start on that, aren't we? Speaking of, we'll check your forecast next, all that good stuff. That's up and coming in just a second as we get deep into our forecast this morning. Hang close. We'll be right back and get that done for you.
When I was elected to the state Senate 9 years ago, my goal was to bring a new generation of conservative leadership to the Capitol to get things done. I'm Mississippi Supreme Court to do the same thing. I've written legislation to lower taxes and reduce regulations on farmers, manufacturers, and other businesses in Mississippi. On the Supreme Court, I'll use my experience and conservative values to always interpret the law, not to rewrite it or bend the rules for anyone.
When it's time to store something, think Store Local Storage. It's conveniently located next to Northeast Park, and it's gated. On top of that, it's climate control, so no matter the season, it'll protect your things. 24-hour security, a covered loading dock, fire sprinklers, and you can choose the storage unit that suits your needs. From a 5x5 all the way up to a 10x30, you choose the space that you need. Call Store Local Storage today at 601-490-1618, Highway 39 North, Meridian. Welcome back. Let's check that forecast now.
Your forecast is brought to you by EMEPA, your Touchstone Energy Cooperative.
Those record highs, we go back to 2016 to see that it was 91 on this date. Our coldest date in history is back in 1948. Record low of 33 on this day. We're not far from that, are we? 5 degrees difference. We're close today. As we look for sunshine today, should be 72 is what we're expecting across most of the area of Mississippi. We will see 74 there in Greenwood, and it'll basically stay that way all the way down the Mississippi River to the Gulf Coast. As we look to Bama, a tad warmer in Demopolis at 74, 72 in Birmingham, and even over in Hankland, we'll see 73 in Montgomery, Alabama today is high expected. Now, there is a fire danger as we look at today, and I expect this to go well into the weekend. They'll probably update this just a little bit later on today. We're expecting this. Don't burn. Watch all of your, don't thump any cigarettes out the window because it could cause problems later. Dispose of those. Make sure that your trailer chains are tied up. And for goodness sake, don't burn. Hang off. It will once again rain one day. We still see that there's frost advisories to our east in the Birmingham area, Jasper, all those areas in northern Alabama. Even Selma and Demopolis has one this frost advisory there in Demopolis. Whew. As we look across this warmer weather for us there all across the deep south from Texas back over in there, we see that our high temperatures today, 72, 44 tonight. But look at this. For the next 7 days, not 1 ounce of rain. Not even mentioned in there. We will get back to the 80s beginning on Monday, and we'll stay in those low to mid 80s, 84 and below through at least Thursday. As we go another week into this, we get very little hope for rain. Look at this. Where we were seeing those 30% chances of rain, that's went down also. We're seeing that, what is it, the 29th, we're only at a 22% chance of rain. The best we get is on the 31st at the end of the month at 94. At 24%. Why did I say 94? It's 24. I ain't had enough coffee, have I? But that's our biggest chance, and that'll be trick-or-treat night as we look for that. As we go ahead and look at our fishing forecast brought to you by our friends over at J&J Auto Sales, major time today is going to be around 9 o'clock this morning through about 11. Should be good fishing there. As we see that we've got another chance this afternoon around 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Good luck. Hope you catch something. Chet will be out in the water. Let's check what's happening with our fishing. Let me back up. There it is. As we get to our hunting calendar today, what is the best time? Major times today, 12:19. Ooh, that was overnight. Not going to work out for us. But this afternoon from 1 o'clock until about 3 o'clock is the best time that we've got for today. You know, you got a minor time after dark, after 6:30, but your best time today is an afternoon hunt, early hunt, 1 o'clock until 3 o'clock. Good luck with that. East wind's going to be 5 to 10 miles an hour. Big thank you to Wimberley Taxidermy letting us know when to hit the bushes. Good luck to everybody. I hope it pans out for you. As we glance at what's going on here, this is starting to, well, this one is just about over. It's down to a 10% chance. This is still hovering at a 50% chance as it's staying close to the coast of Mexico at this point. Should this turn any, we'll let you know. Let's go back and take a look at radar, what's happening in our area. I got it here somewhere. As buttons sometimes are not as quick to grab. As we pull up radar this morning, this is what we're showing. Nothing happening in the great state of Mississippi. As we pointed out a minute ago, we've got a lot of this frost. Selma, these areas around Demopolis, these areas have a chance of it today. That's what we've got showing there as we back out to take a look. Still Chattanooga, we've got plenty of fog, even up at Knoxville. Most of Kentucky, almost all of it's covered with this frost. Evansville, Indiana, Louisville. Let me back up. A little bit north there to say Louisville. We have to say Louisville when we cross that line, don't we? Greensboro, Charlotte, those areas as well. But nothing going on in the deep south. That's what we've got this morning. Now, we'll be back in roughly 4.5 minutes. We're going to go live as we get coffee fired up, as we get the day underway. Bob, how in the world are you doing there? Ernie, good to see you. Downtown York, Alabama is where he's joining us. Jeff Lewis is there. And yes, Julia's here. She's going to tell us about the event in downtown Meridian also. We've got a bunch of stuff that is happening this weekend. Ricky Roberts, good morning. Saw two dogs fighting over a mailbox. We'll be right back. We're going live with all your local headlines next at 7 o'clock here at the Scotty Ray Report.